consistent four-quarter effort against Clarence a couple of weeks ago. Our second half was really good, and then the first half against the Bombers was exceptional last week, and then obviously we trained off, so to speak, in the second half. So I'm just craving the four-quarter effort from the boys.
How close do you reckon they're getting to, getting near that?
Yeah, there's signs of improvement every week. Like at halftime last week, I was very happy where we were at, but I stressed to the boys it's only a half a footy and you need to make sure you're consistent with your effort in the second half last week. So there's little signs each week we're getting closer to a four-quarter effort, but we've just got to keep working hard to ensure that we get that before the season's out.
You went down pretty well against them last time. Have you learned, or is there anything you can take away from that match and having watched them that you'll implement this time?
Say that again. Sorry.
You went down pretty substantially last time.
To Glenorchy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is there anything you learned from that occasion and having watched them in between that you'll be able to use this week?
I think Glenorchy rely a lot on forward half turnovers. They get a lot of goals from turnovers from the opposition's defensive 50, so we need to make sure that our back six are really good ball users, and the way we'll set up this week, the guys down back are all reasonable users of the ball by foot, so we just can't turn the ball over as much coming out of their back 50. Last time we played them too, we lost both Williams boys very early in the game, and there you lose your leader and your vice captain, and makes things quite tough. But obviously we've got them back, playing really good footy, and that gives us great leadership. And also having the development boys back this week from the academy games last week, there's a little bit of class comes back in this week. So we're going with a little bit of confidence that if we can maintain the pressure for four quarters, we think we can be competitive.
Did Cole pass his test, mate?
No.
How devastated is he?
He's a realist. Like, he's not going to go back out there if he's not 100%. So I'd say he'd be pretty close next week.
You spoke about obviously wanting to play that one more game at North Hobart last week. So any update on that with AFL Vic and stuff?
That's probably for him to answer that. Like, I don't want to get into the ins and outs of what AFL Vic says. Cole's doing the communicating with him. So to be honest, you're better off asking him that type of question. I'd love him to be able to play another game for the club this year.
This was the last chance at North Hobart. You must be away after this game?
Yeah, so we're away on the 23rd against Lauderdale, and then, so we'll just have to see.
So was he, you reckon he was pretty close to passing it?
Yeah, I think you've got to get 95 out of 100 for the return to sport test, and I think he's on about 90, so he's very close. He can do all the training, it's just that you have to pass that test, I think, from a legal point of view.
How many changes you got this week?
7 or 8, yeah. So Nick Lee, he's off to Russia. He's off to the World Cup, so nice little break mid-season. But he's been sensational for us in a tagging aspect. So he's out. Ollie Divinito's back in, and the academy boys are back in. So as I said, there's 6 or 7 changes. We haven't decided who goes out just yet. But Diver is definitely back in, and so are the academy boys.
Is Div in for the rest of the year then? Is he someone want him for the rest of the year?
Just see how a 34, 35-year-old body can handle it. So he was obviously against Clarence, he missed against the Bombers, he's back in this week. So hopefully he can get some continuity there. And it's just great to have his leadership on the field out there, because we are a young group, particularly the forward line group's very young. So he provides some leadership there, but he also provides leadership at training, which has been really good.
About the Wizard, are you going around again?
He rang me on Monday and offered his services again, so I'll just see. I mean, if we should be fine for numbers this week, because obviously we had all those guys away at the academy last week, and there's about 10 to come back in, plus there's a couple back in from injury, so we should be fine. But it's just wrapped that he was able to help our club out last week.
Get back on the winners list last weekend?
Yeah, it is. Obviously, when you win a few in a row, it builds confidence, and obviously it's the opposite when you lose a few in a row. And even in some of those wins, we probably didn't play any better or worse than in some of those losses. Obviously, the sport is framed by results, and but for us, it's important as well. Like, the win gives a little boost in confidence for some of the guys, but they've got a pretty good understanding of what we're working on and where we need to get better, and that result didn't really change that. The week before didn't really change that either, against North Lonnie. Like, we looked at some areas in that game where we were really good, particularly in the first half, and some areas where we knew we needed to improve, and that second half in particular highlighted that. So it didn't really change the course that we're on. But, you know, from a ladder perspective, the win was really important, you know, in terms of everyone wants to lock up a finals berth, and that puts us another step closer to doing that.
How's the skipper?
Yeah, he won't play this week. He is progressing, but not as quick as we wanted, and so he's gone back in for another scan just to make sure everything's okay. Our physio thinks he will be fine, and we'll hopefully be back for the Clarence game, but we just wanted to do that double checking to make sure we didn't put him back and there was a complication we weren't aware of.
Matty Joseph, 5 last week. He's sort of been in and out a little bit this year, I guess. Where do you see him fitting in the team for the rest of the year?
Oh, if he kicks 5 goals every week, he'll fit in really nicely. I think it's something where, I guess when I started in the job, I spoke about the fact that, you know, it was a really important moment for us as a club to try and emulate what some of those successful AFL clubs do in ingratiating those young players into the program while you still had the senior guys. Probably something I underestimated a little bit was how little was actually left of the 2016 premiership, just in terms of that overall culture and drive. You know, a lot of the key pieces have left, and the guys who were still a part of it are outnumbered by the guys that aren't. And 4 of the guys we've still got there were teenagers in that premiership team. So they were all valuable contributors, but they weren't the drivers of the culture. So we've really had to strip it back a little bit and really start getting the guys to build their identity and get any understanding of what makes them good. And I think those early performances in the year, you know, we played really good football, and we've still been playing parts of that football all the way through, but there probably wasn't the understanding of what really made us good in those first couple of games. And we look at a couple of guys like who stepped up for us in the midfield, Ben Camerick and James Webb. Their work rate and their willingness to defend, they've really stepped up in an area where we were getting beaten for a couple of weeks. But those 2 guys are 20. You know, and even though they've been around sort of 3 seasons of senior footy, they're still very young players, especially as midfielders. And so it's been great the way those 2 have answered the challenge. You know, Ryan Banks-Smith has come back to us from the Mariners, and he's working really hard, but he's still just a kid, he's 17. But we're really happy with his work rate on the weekend. And so that's the challenge for us, is getting these young players, and Matty Joseph is the same. You know, we trialled him down back, he was keen to do that, and so was I, but I think he's just more value for us as a forward. He's in his natural habitat. When I spoke to him a couple of weeks ago and said, look, we're gonna move you forward again, he joked to me, he said, good, at least I know what I'm doing up there. And you know, he really did. He played a great game, he understood the role we wanted him to play and executed it well. But at the same time, a lot of it came from, you know, the other players executing what we needed through the middle of the ground and through the half-forward line. We got some really good delivery to Matty as well, so that was pleasing.
You knocked them off, I think it was 93 points last time. What are you hoping for this game?
Oh, we've sort of talked about this week like it's relevant who we're playing, it's irrelevant the scoreboard. It's really some of the aspects we've been working on in consistently rolling out as a hardened senior football team. That's what we're aiming for this week. And that is what sort of, you know, let us down at times all the way through the season, in that there are just moments where we don't play like a hardened senior football team and the other team gets on top and we allow them to get 4 goals quickly. And that really hurts you. You know, when you lose to Lonnie by a point and you lose to Clarence by 2 goals, those moments in the game where you let them off the chain have cost you the game. So that's what we're working on as a team. And again, that's where our guys who are younger, you know, your 2 20-year-olds as key midfielders, we need them to sort of advance really quickly in understanding the moment of the game that right now isn't the time to be offensive, now's the time to lock the game down and get it back on our terms. So that's what we're working towards, and I think that'll be most of the rest of the season. That's going to be a really big focus for us in understanding the different ways you can get the game back on your terms, whether it's the way you defend, the way you move the ball, the way you square contests. All those things are going to be really important. And if we can get to the stage where we do those things well, then we're really going to be a good footy team.
Key changes this week?
There won't be much. Jack Stevenson's back from the under-17s, and he's been fantastic for us. You know, he debuted this year, and he's one of those guys. He doesn't look like a footballer, but he is one. You know, that skinny, like a little bit of that Grant Laurie about him. where he's just, you know, he's a lightweight fella, but he puts his body on the line, he goes back with the fly of the ball, and we've been delighted with how he's going this year, and it's something that's been great speaking to our sort of senior core, guys like Steve-O and some of the young guys come in. It just really excites them with their footy. Because the club was probably in a situation last year where, you know, our development league won 4 games, our 18s didn't win a game and didn't get close, and we didn't have an under 16. So the club probably had a feel like, well, what's coming next? And I think the fact, you know, the Bierman brothers, Jack Stevenson, these sort of Adam Roberts, these guys have come in and really put a stamp on it, I think excites the senior players. They now see, hey, there is something coming through, and there is a genuine chance of success with these young guys.
Did you lose anybody to injury?
No.
Since you've been coach, mate, one of the better ones?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, we thought it was a really good win. You know, we went up there with a plan and we executed for 4 quarters, so we were rapt to get the win. Yeah, we enjoyed it on Saturday night, but we really got into recovery Sunday and then focused on North Launceston this weekend.
Talk about confidence in footy, that must give you a huge amount going to this game, especially given that you were pretty good against them last time too.
Yeah, it does give us a lot of confidence, but I think North Launceston are clearly the best team in the competition at the moment. They've beaten everyone, haven't they, apart from Glenorchy when they had a fair few of their top end players out. So, look, it's going to be a different challenge this week. It looks like watching North Launceston the last few games and then listening to Taylor's, or reading Taylor's comments in the paper, they seem like they're a little bit flat and not getting themselves up for the challenge. So I think this week is a real easy one for Taylor to build the game up. So we expect them to come out firing this weekend.
Did you get anyone back?
Jackson will play. Yep. Yeah. We play 100%. So I said that maybe we should do like a 2-week thing. When I say Brady's right in 2 weeks. Jackson's the same. So he 98% last week. He's got the 2% this week, so he's ready to go this weekend. So he's obviously a valuable in for us. Vice captain, more leadership. So we're excited to have him back into the team.
Any concern Speedy won't be back this year?
Plays a half this weekend. Yeah, so he'll play half this weekend and full game against Glenorchy. He's actually going to play half last weekend, but he had a wedding, which is a coincidence, isn't it? But yeah, so he's on the mend. He's trained for the last 3 weeks fully. So he's up and going. He's been active on the stream during the week. So yeah, he's keen to get back into it.
Wiley?
Wiley will play a full game this week. Again, hopefully he'll get back for Glenorchy as well.
So you're doing it like last weekend. That's a big win, seeing you didn't have Jacko and Speedy and even Keane and whoever else you were missing. That's huge, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's a positive for our group moving forward. We haven't had our best so-called 22, but we've been able to get wins on the board and I suppose win those 50-50 games and games that we haven't been expected to win. So that's a real positive. You know, the group at the moment is a real tight 22. So, you know, we need to make sure that we don't unbalance that. You know, we're bringing guys in that are obviously high talent, but they need to, you know, realise that they need to come in and play their role because it's not about talent for us, it's about system and structure, and that's what's holding us in good stead at the moment.
How much homework have you done on Launceston and what have you gotten out of it?
What in?
North Launceston.
I was going to say, yeah, no, we've done a little bit. Look, I think every club now knows what every club's trying to do, so it's no secret to how they play. It's just about trying to implement things that we think, how we can challenge them with what we do, and then so trying to nullify the areas of some of their strengths. So they're obviously extremely dangerous at stoppage. They come out of the front of the contest with handball, so you know, we need to make sure that we're pushing inside the contest, all those types of little things. You know, the backmen really drop off and taking the set marks, so we need to make sure that they're accountable. Just little things like that that we'll focus on this week. There are a couple of things that we might have a look at, but you know, there's another 10 things as well because they're an extremely good team.
If you could beat them this week, what would that mean to the team?
It would mean that we're second on a ladder and going okay. Yeah.
That leads on, isn't it?
Firmly.
Ruckdale will be good?
Ruckdale will be good, yeah. They're probably the 2 best ruckmen right at this stage in the competition. Lee's a great tap ruckman, and he gives them first use. So when you've got, you know, Couch, Cox, Goodyear, and Walsh, Ponting and Whitford, you know, if they're getting first use of the ball, you know, they're extremely hard to stop. I think that's one of their strengths is their stoppage work. So we need to make sure that Ryan can nullify him. in the ruck contest, but also Ryan's ability to get around the ground and take marks and go forward and kick goals is somewhere that we'll be looking to, maybe see if we can, Ryan can get off the chain against Lee in that area of the game.
Expecting Couchy to play?
Yeah, I reckon he'll play. Yep. I know he'll play. Yeah.
Alright, what are you guys hoping for this week?
Win. We've been slowly building, probably a little bit slower than we would have liked. I think, we've been putting layers on our game each week, like adding another 10 minutes, another 15 minutes. So we're chipping away at trying to get that 4-quarter performance, and if you can perform for 4 quarters, you're generally going to give yourself a chance to win. So we want to be in a position to win the game at the end and then see what we can do.
How do you rate Lauderdale? They've sort of come on pretty well since you played them the first time. How do you rate them going into this game?
Yeah, I think I mentioned before to someone else that I think they've got a bit of their ball movement back, or a bit of their offensive stuff. You see the way that they widen the ground out. They're playing with a lot of confidence offensively, but probably in the last couple of weeks since Windy's been back in the chair as well, their contested side is really back. Like they're playing, their tackle numbers would be up. The guys inside like Bell Chambers, Heavey, those sorts of guys are getting first hands on ball with Hayden Smith. And they're playing some pretty tough footy, but with a real nice offensive flair, especially when they turn the ball over in their defensive 50, they'll widen the ground out, switch the footy and move it pretty quick too. So, they've got that inside-outside mix, which is tough to come up against. So, yeah, they've improved since what they were starting with at the start of the year.
Are you making many changes this week?
No, not too many. We'll get Bailey Gordon will be available from state under 17s. He debuted against North Lonnie, so I think if he's available, we'll look to give him opportunity to keep him developing at senior level footy. And Sam Rice was laid out on Saturday morning, so he'll come back in.
All right. What do you think? What do you think of the Tyler Carter decision?
Look, probably, I'd say on behalf of the club, or as a club, we don't condone umpires, umpire bashing or discourse with umpires. We have a saying, the most important play is the next play, so you've got to move on, whether you think it's good, bad or indifferent. But I back in what Tyler says happened. So, I'm his coach, we rate him, we love him as a bloke, and he's not the sort of person who would do that or say those sorts of things. So we'll support Tyler. Obviously he's got a couple of weeks, so we'll support him through that. He's a great lad. He's great around the group. The boys love him. So, but you ride or die. We ride together, we die together. So I'll back him up every day of the week. There's
been a few of these incidents just in recent times. Do you think it's time for the clubs to maybe just reiterate what you said about the next play is the most important one, whether the previous one was right or wrong, and just don't say anything to the umpires?
I'm sure all the other coaches would do that internally as well. Like, my thought process around it is, I've never seen an umpire change their mind. So, whether a decision you think is good, bad or indifferent, it is what it is, and you've got to move on to the next play. You've got to fail fast really, really quickly, and just get on with it, because it's not going to change. The decision's a decision.
Good, Marcus got through unscathed?
Yeah, fantastic. He's going to pull up pretty sore from his first, full 120-minute hit out. He'd had a good couple of weeks of full training under his belt, but you can't simulate a game. So, that twisting, turning, having to chase, tackle. He's an important player for our club, an important part of our structure. Him and Ryan Matthews are probably our most experienced guys playing at higher levels. Ryan's played a lot of high-class NEFL football. Marcus obviously been in the AFL system, so and we need those guys on the field every week. And the guys walk taller when Marcus is out there, and he's, like I said, he's an important part of our club. And just to have him back on the field, you can see, we had a really good performance, and he gave us a bit of structure ahead of the footy as well. And but Marcus plays. He's multi-dimensional. He'll play different roles for us. We'll settle him down back as well, where he plays his best footy, I think. But we'll also see him through the middle of the ground too.
As I said to you before, the goal kicking's obviously got really good over the last couple of weeks compared to a few weeks ago. So that's a big tick. at the moment?
Yeah, we changed, like I said to you earlier, we changed a little bit of our personnel up forward. So we've moved Mitch Carter up forward, more so for the fact that to expose some guys down back to some jobs as well. So to help fast track their development, because we're in that phase where you've got to have that mixture between development and winning. So we want to expose guys, fast track them. Mitch against North Lonnie, Carts had 15 marks and he had about 5 shots on goal. So, he's obviously been an AFL listed player. He straightens us up, but it's that kick into forward 50 that a lot of teams break down on. So if he's working up hard, marking it 70 or so metres out from goal, wheeling onto that leg of his and getting it into 50, it makes it easier for those guys who are playing a little bit deeper as well. So we'll persist with Mitch up forward. It's a good role for him. I think he looks good up there. So, we won't make any secrets about that. He'll play forward of the footy probably for the rest of the year. Come on, mate. I don't know, mate. So, are you watching movies instead of footy again, Curtis? We're all good. I think you've, as a coach, you've got to give feedback. You've got to help guys develop. So let's just say last week was a little bit of just a learning tool for you, and I think you know the areas that you need to tidy up on. I was a bit concerned when I heard you weren't coming in today. I thought, geez, I've done a number on him here, and I was feeling a bit bad, but no, we're all sweet, mate.
All right, what's the feeling of the group coming to this game?
It's the last couple of weeks have been feeling pretty good. We're getting our footy back to where it was last year, as I spoke about a couple of weeks ago to you, and we feel like we are getting that good inside and outside balance, what Trent spoke about before. And it's sort of a fine line to get that balance, and we feel like we're balancing it well at the moment. So the boys are pretty confident that we're getting back to our footy we played last year, so the feeling is quite good around the group.
Somebody made an insightful comment earlier about how you've developed quite nicely since the last time you played them. How far down the road do you think you are?
To getting fully back to our footy.
Well, how much have you developed since the first time you played the Tigers?
I think we have developed obviously a lot since we played them last time. We've had another six games into our younger kids since then, so they're starting to feel a lot more comfortable and getting, I guess, used to the speed of senior football, and then getting used to the game plan as well at senior level. So our reserves try to play a similar game style to our seniors, but obviously it is a little bit different with a younger group, and we have some 18s coming up. So to get them playing an extra 6 games of senior footy, they feel like they're developing a lot more, and you can obviously see in our game style that we're starting to be a lot more consistent across 4 quarters. And you hear Trent speak about being consistent for 120 minutes. I think we're starting to get a lot closer to that 120 minutes of football. And that's just through some more experience for our younger guys, and our leadership group's probably stood up the last 6 weeks a lot more as well.
As well as the consistency, what's working well for you guys at the moment?
I just think, I think last year we were a really good stoppage side, and we're starting to get back to that again this year. We're winning stoppages and scoring from stoppages. And then our transition as well from the back half has probably improved. We're holding on to the ball a lot more, we're not kicking it back to the opposition. And we're trying to find more avenues to move the footy forward instead of just going long down the line. And I think we are a good long down the line side as well, but if you can hold on to the footy and deny the opposition the footy, you can obviously deny them from scoring, and that's just basically the way everyone tries to play. Hold on to the footy, keep the footy in your forward half, and we seem to be doing that quite well the last couple of weeks.
It's a bit of a danger game in some ways. Trent said they're sort of building and putting layers on every week. Do you feel that as well? Yeah,
definitely. I think the Tigers are quite a good side, even though their record doesn't suggest that. They've got some really good talent. Obviously, Carter, Davies, 2 ex-AFL listed players. Ryan Matthews, that Trent spoke about before, also that he's played some high-level football over on the mainland, and then you add in their midfield, Campbell, Clifford, you've got Rice on the outside. I think Blake Grant's really playing really well for them this year. I watched last week's game and I thought he was really good on the outside. And then they've also got some younger kids starting to play some good footy like us, starting to feel a lot more comfortable and playing a lot more chunks of footy well, I think. So it is a danger game, especially at the Twin Ovals. I think they play the Twin Ovals quite well, We were able to knock them off down there early in the year, but it was a tough game. They had us in the first half and we had to dig deep and fight back in the second half. So it is a tough place to play footy, and we're not taking the Tigers lightly. We know if we're not in our game, they'll play well and they could easily beat us. So we just need to stick to what we do well and focus on us, and if we can execute that, we feel like we can win the game.
Any changes that you know about?
We'll lose Matt to the Allies, so he played with us against Lonnie and we had the bye last week, so we'll lose Matt. I think that will be the only forced change. I'm not sure who's coming in at this stage. There's been a couple of guys playing well in the development league, and we had someone who was a laid out against Lonnie who could potentially come back in, so that will be up to the coaches. I'm not aware who that is though at the moment.